Okay, so I love drag queens, and I'm going to tell you why. I love them for all the usual reasons. I love how they take insecurity and rough growing up and lack of confidence, and they just beat the shit out of it, and they do it all sparkly fashion. But I think I have a special reason for loving drag queens too, and I'll share it with you now. So I grew up, and my family, for generations back on my mom's side, sort of non-practicing Russian Orthodox, which basically takes all of the most awesome elements out of Judaism and Catholicism and disregards the rest, and holds no stock in the Pope. And like I said, it's non-practicing in our family, so we mainly just sort of, it's like a relative that you don't really like, but you go to their house every so often and you get some free stuff. And look at the nice shit they have. I'm really down with the whole notion of saints. I like how they're sort of like superheroes with a specific power that you can ask favors of. And my big thing is I love the notion of guardian angels. And this is going to sound pathetic. I've always thought, like, of the people that I know that have passed over that might be my guardian angels. They always would have, when I'm logical about it, I always know that they would have somebody else, like a list of people before me that they would probably be looking out for. Like, I don't think anybody that's died, I've been their favorite. But I think I do. If I do have a guardian angel, it's a living one. It's in the form of a drag queen. And it happened. I never had much experience with drag queens or exposure to. I grew up in a small town in Wyoming, and the closest we had to a drag queen was this guy, sort of a local character named Neil Walker. And that's his real name, and he walked around all the time. He had like a mo, he was a big guy. He had a mo haircut, but real short bangs of straight red hair. And he wore a dress all the time, sometimes with pants under, sometimes not. And he would just go, he was harmless. He'd go to your door, and he would knock on your door, and he would ask for a light bulb. And, because he, I guess, collected them. It's absolutely true. And his big thing was, and if you gave him a light bulb, which most people did, he would say, "Do you have any Christmas bulbs? I adore Christmas bulbs." And the one day that I encountered him, and everybody knew about him, it was a small town, he visited my friend's house, and I was over there playing with her, and it was Christmas time, and they had just taken down those like bubble lights that used to get really hot and are probably illegal now, and they were going to get rid of them. And of all the times for Neil Walker to come by, and he comes by, and he's in a beautiful sort of like furry, like, and he comes by and he knocks on the door and he did his whole, I adore Christmas bulbs. And he got the fucking motherload, right? He got like, and they're like, "Here you go, Neil." And he's like, oh. So that was as close as I had ever come to a drag queen was Neil. But I had a real liberal upbringing, and I like the whole notion of it. I was down with it. But I'd never seen one or met one. Until 1989, I came out here to go to Reed College, and I was kind of fresh off the boat. And I was, 18 years old and real stupid and real naive. And at the time, I was just sort of entering fully into that weather system of the dark clouds of depression that would grow and darken and surround me over the next like 4 to 6 years. And I was, thank you. And I was scared, I was afraid of all drugs. I didn't have enough money for alcohol. My beloved Cymbalta was still, I don't even think, invented yet. So mainly the way I would self-medicate was through the attention of boys. Sometimes, and sometimes girls, it was Reed. But mostly it was guys. And, I'm not proud of it at all, but it was very much the case. Also the fact that I grew up almost all my school years being the girl that, my main connection with guys was when, like, a bunch of guys would push their buddy into me and say, "You like Daria?" And they would be like, "Gross, I do not." So when I finally started to pass, which was right around that time, any sort of like seductive affection or interest, it gave me this sort of rush of fleeting power and desirability and everything, and I really was addicted to it. So it came about that I got asked for a date from some guy off campus, like a Portland townie. And I thought I was it. Like I remember him being kind of cute, probably, but just the whole notion. I was out at a bar, And I must have been, if it was 89, using my fake ID that said that I was Devonna Montoya, and I was 4'9" and 80 pounds, and it was expired. But this guy asked me out. I said yes, and I was tossing my hair around like I was, the best of the best. So he comes over. I don't even remember what we did. A lot of this is blacked out because it was fairly freaky and traumatic. I had a very sheltered upbringing. We went to, some of you will recall, the late great Quality Pie, 24 hours. We ended up there, and we were sitting there across from each other. It's in Northwest Portland. And suddenly, as we're sitting there, another boy about this boy's age joins us. And you could tell that by the reaction of my date that this was not unexpected. It wasn't, oh, hey, come sit down. It was very weird and calm and eerie. And as the guys began talking to each other, they started talking about me as though I wasn't there. And they started referring to me in a way that I knew, even in my youthful naivete, I had made a big fucking mistake. So I had no money. I didn't know how the bus system worked. And it was right when school started. I didn't know the name of a lot of my dorm mates. I didn't know who. I had no one to call to say, get me out of the situation. And I didn't know Portland. I didn't know how to describe where I was because everybody at the dorm was new to the city too and wouldn't know Quality Pie. I didn't know street names. So I was sitting there. The serotonin euphoria of being desired had long since fled. And I just looked up, literally to look around for help. And at the end, if you guys remember the place, there's an entrance here, 2 long rows of sort of booth seats. I was here close to the door. Way, way back on the other side, facing me, was a fully fledged, glammed out, amazing looking queen. The best way I can describe her physically is, some of you might remember when Laverne and Shirley moved Milwaukee and they went to Los Angeles and they had this neighbor, Rhonda. So she was like Rhonda, except twice as wide and twice as tall. And she was sitting with a bunch of friends who were equally terrifyingly yet enticingly weird and glamorous. And she just looked up at the same time I did and locked eyes with me. And I don't know if it was from growing up and immediately being able to sense and know when a guy was bad, bad trouble and was ready to hurt you and embarrass and degrade you. But she locked eyes with me, and she sort of swept herself out of the booth. And again, I was close to one end. She was almost away at the other end. And I'm going to show you how she moved. It was kind of like Bette Midler in Witches crossed with the ACAC girl from Mars Attacks. So she's sitting in the booth, and she gets up like this. This is a seat. All the way down the aisle, and never leaving my eyes. She got to the table. The boys are both sitting opposite me. They have their backs to her. They haven't seen her yet. And never losing eye contact with me, she said, "Oh, my God, it's you. Come on back here and sit with us. Come hang out with us. We've missed you." The 2 guys I was with looked over. It was an intimidating sight. There was a lot of sequins. There were feathers involved, I believe. She seemed about 9 feet high and was most recognizable, I think, by the fact that she was wearing a neck collar like you get from Whiplash, entirely bedazzled. But it worked for her. It was like an Elizabethan ruff somehow. The guys looked at her. They said, "What the fuck are you supposed to be?" She looked back at both of them, more right through them, I would say, and said, "Little men, I'm more woman than you'll ever have and more man than you'll ever be. And this one's coming with me." And she held out her hand. She said, come on, honey, we're going to take you home. So is it a guardian angel? I don't know. I've never seen her before or since. I don't remember the drive home. I don't remember her name. I don't remember anything about her. But as far as religion goes, I would say if you're ever in any situation, dire or otherwise, if you ask yourself, WW, a fabulous drag queen do, you won't go far wrong. Thank you.